Hello, this is Aisha. Welcome back to the Muse Room, where we talk all things slow self mastery and how to both be and become your own muse. Today is one that I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking about creating a vision. So, ever since I was a little kid, I have been obsessed with vision boards, manifestation, and I just, as a creative who is highly visual and sensitive to visuals, I really love this idea of being able to visually see the person that you want to become. But I think in a lot of my past experiences in vision boards and building a vision, I always also felt so detached with my vision because it felt like a version of myself that I wasn't fully able to reach. I felt very out of reach and unrealistic. And so sometimes I would build these visions and create these steps and then get so overwhelmed by the distance between me and where that vision was that resistance would really kick in and allow me to really self-sabotage so quickly and not really get there. So this process that I've been doing has been something I've been implementing for 3 years now. And as someone who's still dealing with trauma and healing, doing the inner work on healing myself, these steps have really helped me build an intentional vision that has allowed me to use it as a space to dream, to manifest, and to ultimately create something that felt more attainable and something that felt more nourishing and loving than something where it felt like I felt even worse a lot of the times in the past when, again, I created visions that were out of reach. So let's dive into these 7 steps and how to build your vision. So the first one is one that might sound a little bit out there for some people who are not really into astrology, but as someone who really does find a lot of grounding in astrology, I highly recommend looking into your reading charts. And so what I do at the beginning of the month is there's a tarot reader creator that I absolutely adore named Chris Corsini, and he puts out astrological tarot readings for each sign for your sun, moon, and rising. And again, if this is not for you, you can also skip this step and just focus on the journaling. But for me, this step is very, very critical because allowing myself to tap into kind of what the planets and what the universe is doing naturally on a cosmic level allows me to feel more aligned. Because if I just sit down with a piece of paper, I will feel so overwhelmed, and every single problem that I want to quote unquote fix about myself will reveal itself, and it will just start creating just a lot of negativity in my space of fuck, I don't know where to start. So this step has been critical in me finding an anchor and finding a place where I can start investigating the things that are ruminating in my mind. And so the tarot readings I absolutely love. So I go to his Instagram, and he also puts his readings on YouTube as well. And I'll watch my astrological reading for that month. So for example, I'm a Sagittarius sun, so I'll listen to his reading for that. And I always find that so much of it resonates with me, but there's always one or two things that completely hit me like an arrow in the chest. And I always walk away with oh, that was something that I wasn't able to articulate perfectly, but he was able to reveal. So I really absolutely love his readings, and I really encourage you using that as a starting place. Or if there is a tarot reader that you really absolutely love, who's local to you in person, you could have a personal reading. But honestly, his readings are free, and I've always found them so spot on. So I start with that first. And what it does is it allows me to kind of I'll always walk away with a couple of notes. So I'll do my sun, my moon, and my rising. So I'll listen to the Sagittarius reading. My moon is Aries and my rising is Libra. So if I want to go all out, I'll listen to all three, but most of the time I'll just listen to the sun, and that will help really kind of start getting the juices flowing for me. So I start there. And what tends to happen is after I listen to his readings, I am left with a lot of questions and notes. And so I will go straight into journaling. And again, if you want to skip the first step, you can start with journaling. And so the types of journal prompts that I ask myself is, what is the thing I'm hiding from the most? I think that's a big question to ask yourself. And journaling can really help unlock the subconscious mind there. What is the thing that if it changed would open up my life in positive ways? So we all know the things, the habits that we do in our day-to-day that are creating a cyclical routine of self-sabotage. So that's a question that I ask myself in a very neutral way, just as an observer and not as someone who's passing judgment. Ask yourself those questions so that you can start unpacking those habits and those behaviors. And one of the other questions is, what is the story about myself that is creating blockages? So a lot of what we experience in life is really about how, like, the narratives we have of ourselves. So I try to there's so many narratives we have of ourselves that are programmed into our psyche, but usually in the beginning of the month, there is one or two that is really at the surface, that's really bubbling over. So really think about, what is that narrative that is kind of knocking on your subconscious mind more and more in that present moment. And that will really help unlock a lot of things. So whether it's the tarot readings or the journaling, I think those two combined as the first step helps me really interrogate my soul and my spirit in understanding what is the thing that I want to focus on. And so this brings us to step number 2, which is about finding the thread. This is such a key thing because I think sometimes I've seen visions, and maybe if this works for you, great. But for me, when I see so many themes on a vision board, so many kind of words and phrases, I get overwhelmed and it doesn't feel streamlined. And for me, like, what's been impactful is finding a thread or one key theme that's just clearly woven across all these different things. So for example, I'll share, when I was doing listening to the tarot readings for the month, for the Sagittarius sun, a lot of the threads that kept coming up was closing chapters and cutting cords and making myself a priority and not prioritizing other people before I've served myself. Finding better support and stop getting distracted by old bullshit patterns. And with my other Aries and Libra risings, a lot of stuff that was coming up was about like not chasing things, really focusing on grounding myself and receiving and attracting the things that I want. And I love that he said, I need me right now, not to water myself down and people please. That really hit the nail for me. So step 2, finding the thread. When I was reading all of these things, I realized the thread was about self-trust. And so I'm going to pull up my vision and then share it with you guys. But so the thread in my case that was revealing itself. And this is something I want to note is when you're trying to find the thread, it should not be something that you have to aggressively dig at. In the past, I've done that, and these threads should not be hidden so deeply, and it shouldn't require a ton of effort. The thread usually is very much peeling itself back and revealing itself to you. So in my case, for the month, the thread it was undoubtedly self-trust. And for me, self-trust means committing to myself over committing to anyone else, really reinforcing the commitments, because when the way we break our trust is saying that we're going to do X, Y, and Z and not doing any of the things, not keeping our own word. So self-trust has been broken so many times in the past that is the thing that is the most damaged right now. And that it was revealing to me through these exercises that self-trust is what needs to be healed, what needs to be nurtured right now in order for me to like unblock myself and move forward. So step 2, find your thread, find the theme. And the theme really is another way of saying, like, what should I prioritize right now? It has a sense of urgency because there's, of course, you're going to always feel like there's things to prioritize in all aspects of your life. But the more clear and the more specific you can be about what that theme is, it is truly the single priority of the month. And I feel like having a singular priority is so much more powerful than having a ton of different priorities, because again, it's much harder to follow through with that, especially if you're overwhelmed by these things like I am. So step 3 is the next kind of organic step after you find your theme, which is to write your personal statement. And so I'll share mine. So as you know, my word was self-trust. And my statement is, I reinforce my commitment to self over my commitment to others. I need me right now. I refuse to abandon myself. I do not chase people, places, or things. I attract what is meant to serve and honor my soul's recovery. Yep. I mean, the more clear you can be, the more concise you can be with your personal statement, the more powerful I think your vision can come to fruition. So in the past, I've written a lot. So if you feel inspired or moved to write an essay or write a paragraph, that's great and more power to you. But what I've learned is really just edit and cut it down to what is essential. What is that statement that you can read to yourself throughout the month when you start feeling a little overwhelmed or you feel that resistance kick in? Having that personal statement is just such a wonderful way to kind of cut through your own bullshit and cut through your inner critic. So that's the personal statement that I created for myself for October. And so yeah, step 3, write your personal statement. Step 4 is very much connected to the personal statement, but it's action oriented. So step 4 is create realistic action steps. And for me, in the past, I used to make lists of like 5 different things that I was going to do that month, and I always ended up not following through with them. It's just, for me, simplicity is so key right now. I feel like when you're going through a healing journey, your nervous system is shot most of the time. So being intentional, and for me, what's worked has been adding one habit and removing one habit. So not making it very simple for myself. And for me, the action steps this month is a daily meditation. And that meditation specifically is a mantra, which is Waheguru, 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 Wahegyo. So Yogi Bhajan said that this mantra means clear perception of what is important to preserve. So this mantra is something that I've done a lot in the past, and it's been a very powerful tool for me. Cut away at any sort of distractions and refocus my energy inwards to my soul's core. I love that it says clear perception of what is important to preserve. It's another, you can think of this mantra as another way of saying like a protection of peace mantra, protection of inner peace mantra. So that's one of my steps. Another step that I added that I think will really be a pair or a partner to the meditation is daily yoga for 15 minutes. For a long time, I've been wanting to step back into a yoga practice. I am yoga certified, and I got certified over 10 years ago, and then I completely abandoned my practice and have always been scared ever since to return back. I always think, okay, this is the year I'm going to do it, or this is the day I'm going to do it. And I always find an excuse to not, because I am judging myself for not having the body that I feel like a yogi should have. But if you studied yoga, you know that all bodies are welcome. So it's really about my mind that has been jacked up when it comes to wanting to revisit yoga. But I also know that the yoga practice is always there. It's never abandoned me. That's just a story I've created for myself. And what I want right now this month is to create more space, fluidity, and mobility in my body. My body's mobility has degraded a lot in the last 3 years, and I always think I need to start by doing the most. I have to go to yoga studios every day. I have to do an hour-long class. I have to work and exert myself to my limit. But the reality is, for me, the action step is 15 minutes of yoga daily. I get to set the amount of effort. You need to just have that honest conversation with yourself. What is doable with the resources and the things that you have available to you? And for me, I think that that's what is doable. And so I'm not going to make these crazy, try to go out of that realistic realm for me. So 15 minutes of yoga daily. And the habit that I'm removing is no TV during bedtime. I really struggle with getting sound sleep. I can't sleep without having the TV on. Since I was a kid, I've always had the TV on. It's like been basically what has helped me sleep most of my life. But as an adult, I've realized that it's incredibly disruptive to my sleep. And so I want to practice not turning on the TV and not falling into that addiction or to that habit to soothe my nervous system at night. I want to find healthier ways to get better sleep, because to be honest, I'm using the TV as just to self-medicate at night. So I want to make sure I do not use the TV during bedtime. Just keep them simple and keep them realistic. There have been months where my habit was to make sure I floss every single night, because there was definitely times where I skipped days, and I just wanted to start with something so small. And you'll feel so much better accomplishing that quote unquote small thing, because no matter how big that commitment you're making to yourself is, the important thing is that you stay committed. It's not even about the thing. And that's what you learn when you're building your vision is it doesn't matter how grand the goal or the steps are or the habits are. It's really about being honest with yourself. And then you build the self-trust by following through. So don't worry so much about it being something that is noteworthy or small or big. It really is just about the commitment to self. The next one is building a visual reminder. So I like to build a mood board, and you can really have at it with different designs. And sometimes I like to, have a lot of images. And then recently I've really pared back and had very, very simple, clean images, kept it very minimal. But I love to build a mood board that really harnesses or creates a clear depiction of what I'm trying to achieve. And so for me, that visual was having an image that represented like mobility and flexibility and yoga. And another visual was like a girl kind of just like cushioned in like a field of grass, and she looked so rested and so cozy, and I thought that was a beautiful visual of rest. I have an image of meditation and a mudra, and then this quote that I really loved, that I feel like really blended well with the personal statement, which is, your self-respect gotta be stronger than your feelings. And this just really captures the essence of my personal statement. So build your visuals. I use Canva. You can use whatever platform that you have access to build a vision board. But usually what I'll do is pull some images from Pinterest and then pull them into Canva and then build it out on a template that already exists. And I'll use another template to display and design my mission statement and my action steps. And what I love to do is make sure that they're in a 9x16 format so that I can download them onto my computer or my phone and have them saved as the wallpaper or the desktop image, because again, it's just to create that trigger for yourself throughout the month of the reminder of your vision to yourself. The next step 6, is about creating a tracker. So you can create a really simple tracker. You can use your Google Calendar. I also like to use Post-its and then just have like the number of days individually in a Post-it on the wall, and then just X or remove the Post-it every single day that you accomplish it. And there might be days where you miss certain things, and it's important to get back on the horse as quickly as possible. Don't let it be a pattern, or don't become too attached to any of the days that you do mess up for whatever reason, because it's really, again, about neutrality and just keep going. Because at the end of the month, what matters most is if you put the votes in. These actions are just votes that you've put in for yourself. And it matters more about how much you've put in versus judging yourself for days that you might have missed. And the last step is something I like to do at the end of the month, which is journaling again. But it's really a post-mortem, if you will, and reflecting on what you learned about yourself that month. It's really hard to measure your vision, because usually how our brain interprets visions is we got there or we didn't. And it's just, my brain at least is very all or nothing. And what I'm learning with vision building is that something is always better than nothing at all, or everything, honestly. For me, it's just about reflecting with no judgment and just thinking about the lessons that I learned throughout the month and what were examples of moments where I fell off my vision, and what did that feel like, and what did that garner in my life, and how did that manifest itself? How did it pour into other aspects? And then also reflecting on when I did commit to myself, what did that feel like? When we have these moments of reflection at the end of the month, they just create more references for us to know our resilience and know that life will keep lifing and doing its thing, but reminding ourselves that like what fuels us is really that feeling, the fulfillment that we feel when we do follow through with what we said we were going to do. So again, just observing yourself throughout the month in a neutral way can go such a long way for you, and has really helped me in really enjoying the process of vision making. So that is how I've built my vision for October, and I hope you give it a try. It's not too late to build your vision for the month, and just start where you're at, and know that where you're at is completely right. You don't have to be at a certain place in order to really start and to follow and build your vision.